pretty much a Ponzi scheme, but things would take a major turn as the crypto market crashed hard, and he lost almost all of his money his investors gave him. By this point, Aiden had grabbed over $40 million from his investors. Remember, according to his agreement, he had to give it all back. He simply couldn't provide money back to the investors and claimed to have gone bankrupt. So then a full-out fraud investigation was made into how Aiden had been handling the funds. And they were naturally horrified to see him claiming that he couldn't pay back investors while living in a $45,000 a month mansion. So he was brought in for questioning for over 5 hours. He offered excuses, claiming that he did make disclaimers and his failed investments were unintentional or the result of external factors. However, as investigators delved deeper into the financial intricacies, the facade of innocence crumbled. The investigations went further on, and it became clear he handled investment money like a Ponzi scheme. After going to court, Aiden Platitsky's lawyer said that the allegations against his client were exaggerated. He said Aiden had not actively solicited money from investors, rather individuals were drawn to him by witnessing his success in crypto investments since his teenage years. The lawyer then argued that the investors were driven by a desire to replicate Aiden's achievements, overlooking the volatility of the crypto markets. According to Aiden's legal team, the responsibility rested on the investors to recognize the risks involved and acknowledge that a young Aiden might not possess the qualifications necessary to navigate such intricate financial matters. Basically saying, well, they gave money to a 23-year-old, what do you expect? That is despite Aiden sending his clients pictures and statements of fake returns. One of the men on the investigating team was Akko Hayward, somebody who apparently already knew Aiden. That's because he had invested some $700,000 with Aiden, and after finding out what he really did with his money, he started sending death threats to Aiden. However, Aiden didn't really seem to care and continued to showcase his lavish lifestyle. But then, in March 2023, a news article reported that Canada's crypto king had been abducted and tortured over a $3 million ransom. It was his father who reported the abduction that took place a few months prior, and his father would suddenly wake up to a call from his son and a demand for $3 million Canadian as a ransom package. 3 days later, after further death threats and torture, Aiden was released with a warning that he had to get the money or else. At first, the news was pretty much brushed under the rug because nobody believed him, but a few days later, he posted this video.
It's my fault. I'm not going to put the blame on anybody else. I'm not going to try to put the blame on anybody else. I feel humiliated. I feel disgusted in my actions. I feel disgusted in what I did after 2021. I feel like a lot of those all these guys that are owed the money. I'm going to do what I can do to make it right. I'm going to call each and every one of you individually.
Before things escalated further, 5 men were arrested for being involved in the abduction. Akko Hayward was one of those arrested. Akko and his co-conspirators pulled up to Aiden's house with weapons and forced him into the car. Akko, having seen some of Aiden's financial records, felt he was hiding funds during his bankruptcy proceedings, something others had been accusing him of doing. According to the bankruptcy reports, there's only evidence of Aiden investing a total of $670,700,000, less than 2% of the funds given to him by investors. That meant Aiden spent nearly $16 million of investor funds on himself, renting private jets, going on vacations, and adding luxury cars to his collection. Despite making his apologies and despite nearly being killed for his crimes, he is still walking free. In fact, he's actually created his own Kick streaming channel, and in its description it reads, quote, "Doing what you love to do is worth way more than any amount of money," which is easy to say when it's not your money you're spending. And to no surprise, he loves to gamble live on stream, which makes you wonder what else he did with the investors' money. And the reality is, fake gurus will continue to thrive, not only because of their cunning tactics, but also because people want a way to escape society as they know it and propel themselves forward. So when a Ty Lopez or Ron Cardo pops in with the promises of quick success and transformation, it's always compelling. And in our culture that promotes instant gratification, material wealth over everything, these people are icons. A reflection of our broader societal issues, our obsession with wealth, our obsession with materialistic wealth, the desire to not work, and the constant pursuit of external validation. Because of this, there will always be a future for fake gurus, but time will tell who will be next. November 18th, 2022. I upload this video to YouTube, and in it, I make a declaration that in 1 year's time, my gaming backlog would be completed. This list is nearly 90 games meticulously curated for my interest, measured for time to beat at just over 1,600 hours, and organized neatly into a live spreadsheet that you all could check up on throughout the year, I vowed would be finished. And you don't need to go watch that video before watching this one. You can, it'll make this one a bigger payoff, but I'll recap what's important. Now, the gaming backlog is not something most people seriously talk about ever finishing, right? There's always going to be more games, and if anything, we joke about the absurdity of just how big ours is getting, especially with what, like 8 realistic Game of the Year contenders this year. But despite the odds, I couldn't put up with the shame of having never played a Resident Evil game before. I was tired of being told to play Outer Wilds. I was ready to finally get to more of those weed games that made me way too emotional. I wanted this thing empty so that I could feel lighter. And so, the 1 year younger me set out to finally conquer the unconquerable. That stupid fuck. And now, here we are, November 2023. My time is up. Here's what I've done. I have meticulously taken notes all year, my thoughts on each game recorded diligently as I played them. Here I am in February, gushing about how Portal 2 might be the perfect game. Here's a log from July, my first time with Mass Effect, where I describe it as Star Trek with balls. In March, The Last of Us, another game I'd somehow never played and remained unspoiled to, reminded me of evacuating from a hurricane as a child. There are also notes taken about my general thoughts on this method, some of which make sense, others not so much. Also, don't forget, Chocolate Tornado. What is Chocolate Tornado? Why am I not meant to forget it? I wrote this? I also have stats. I spend an average of 13.5 hours per game, but only the games that I actually beat. If you factor in the ones I decided to stop playing, then hang on, you guys probably have questions, right? Were you able to finish it? What did you play? Should I try this too? I'll answer all that. We're gonna have fun. But I want to be real with you for a second. I rewatched last year's video in preparation for this one because it's been so long and so much has happened. I don't remember exactly what I promised you then. And one thing that stuck out to me is this question that was never answered. Would it make you feel better to finish your gaming backlog? Is it worth it? Does finishing the list bring happiness? Do I feel better? Will you, if you do this? And I think that's the ultimate question I would like to answer today. We will talk about what I played, what I liked, what about this method worked, what didn't, data I collected, etc. But quite simply, I want to tell you a story. And to do that, we have to start here. The first thing to get out of the way is that I cheated a little bit. I got a head start. The first game I play on the backlog is Xenoblade Chronicles, and I actually finish it in October. But I consider it the first game in the backlog because it is the one that inspired me to do this. It is a game that I shed a tear to, that genuinely feels like a journey. It is unquestionably a man game, which is why this is the spark that ignited the shitstorm I put myself through this year. Shitstorm! Chocolate Tornado? Was that not? I can't think. What I love about Xenoblade is that it's a weird JRPG plot that actually makes sense. Usually these plots go something like this, where as time goes on, your questions increase and they just kind of nah. But Xenoblade 1 actually makes a nice pretty graph where it all comes together in the end. I remember my jaw genuinely dropping when I realized what exactly this world was. If you know, you know. And so, with that being done and my heart filled with joyous, foolish ambition, it was on to November. God of War is next on the docket. And this is not only to appease my FOMO from everyone talking about it back in 2018, it is also to touch the series for the first time ever. My only memory of Kratos is watching my cousin play this back in the day. But instead, what I get is a quiet, moving exploration of boyhood, fatherhood, and confronting the things about ourselves that we never want to see in our children. This game is beautiful, and it works for me for two reasons. One, I know this is the Kratos of the past and kind of nothing else. As I play, it's almost like his reputation, whispers of his past that followed him around in the game, had found their way into the real world to me. I know you're a god. Not of this realm, there's no mistaking it. I know that season that Kratos was a bad, bad man, but not really why he was. This makes for a nice harmony with the narrative as I play. The other reason is that Atreus had also never played God of War. So every time he asks the question, I'm like, yeah, what about that actually? I am honored to have played this. It's a man game. Ragnarok is added to the list. Next is Pokemon Scarlet. You've seen this movie before. Let's fast forward. Finally, I ended the month with a short little indie game called Detention, which was developed by the same studio behind Devotion, another game that's on this list, that I've heard a lot about, so I figured detention is gas. And it's, well, it is gas, but it's like Safeway gas. You probably don't want to stop here unless you have to. It's a little point-and-click horror game with no shortage of unsettling gorgeous imagery. The soundtrack works, the narrative works, the enemies work a little too well. They are frightening, but like the thing in Soma, it's only scary the first time, and it just kind of sours into an annoyance. I want to love this, but I only like it. And the same can be said of my progress on the backlog as this cold November draws to a close. I am happy with what I played, but at only 4 out of 85 games done, already about 3 games behind pace, how can I not feel behind? But it's fine, I tell myself. I had to make the backlog video itself this month. I'll have more time in the coming months. I would not have more time. Okay, before we continue, I've got to pay the bills. This video is brought to you by Manscaped. Gentlemen, around the holidays, we spare no expense for those that we love. We show our gratitude for them by buying them gifts, spending time with them, and showing up at their house to eat all of their food. So why don't you show the same appreciation for your family jewels with the new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra from Manscaped? Personal grooming is one of the best ways to show yourself some love, and this absolute beast of a machine from Manscaped will make that process seamless. With the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, they have prioritized comfort and ease with a dual skin-safe blade heads, upgraded trimmer blade, and interchangeable foil blade for enhanced performance. The upgraded trimmer is longer, wider, trimmier, meant to handle business in less passes. And the foil blade captures even the finest, peskiest hairs, all while respecting those delicate areas. And thanks to an attached LED, this bad boy even lights the way so that you can see what you're doing. Even if you're in the shower, water won't stop you. So head on over to manscaped.com and show yourself some gratitude with the new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra today. And don't miss out on 20% off plus free international shipping at checkout when you use the promo code Daryl at checkout. That's 20% off plus free shipping with promo code Daryl at manscaped.com. Believe me, lads, your balls will thank you. Thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring. Now back to the show. You know what's refreshing around the holidays? A little bit of radio-induced possession. Oxenfree is a spooky little graphic novel style game with multiple endings and decisions that matter and all that good I want video games that hurt me energy. I enjoy this one. The interactions between characters feel natural, the conversations dance instead of march. The responses you choose feel in character for who you're playing as and as the player, which is hard to pull off. How many times have you been given dialogue options and thought, cool, so I guess I'm an asshole, let's see. Oxenfree is great. On to the next. I would now like to read to you the first sentence of my thoughts on I, the Somnium Files last December. What the fuck? The stupidest game I have ever played, and yet somehow I absolutely love every second of it. There are games out there that produce weird fan bases. This is a game that feels like it is produced by a weird fan base. It knows it's silly. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It doesn't rush. And because of these, some of the plot twists and bigger moments kick my legs out from under me and hit me with the people's elbow. And the way it hides the true killer all along is absolutely bonkers. The voice acting was top. And damn it, I want to tell you about the Somniums, but time to take it.
Playtime's over. Let's begin.
Death's Door. Yeah, baby. This game knows how to get down. It feels like a dark Wind Waker, but with difficulty that will sneak up on you and become super tough in the final act. It is witty, it is charming, it is tight. Mostly I have a few of those I swear to God I hit roll spots, but you know how those go. Oh, and there's this icy floor area where you slide around, and certain heavy moves that are generally unsafe become safe here because you can hit them as you slide away out of danger like this. Okay, moving on. Less than 11 months left. Next is Fury, a game that just doesn't agree with me for some reason. I didn't write much about it. The first 2 bosses make me feel like a superhero when I finally figured them out, but when I get to this shield guy, I just can't seem to find a rhythm. After a few failed attempts, I abandoned it. This is the first game I don't roll credits on, which, if you remember from last year, I made it clear I don't have to beat everything. That is a piece I'm allowing for myself. I try to give myself a break, but it still bothers me a bit. Hey, current day, Daryl here. Sorry to interrupt. If I could just interject here really quick, I do need to pay a compliment to this spreadsheet. One thing I was concerned about playing all these games back to back was that they would sort of just start to blur together and I wouldn't remember a ton of them. But as I'm sitting here writing the script, looking at a bundle of games I played in a rush a year ago, I remember the details of them all shockingly well because I did take the time to write about them. I did this for every. What was that? I never wrote about Dr. Rabbit too. But other than that, I did this for every game I played. There is research suggesting that writing consolidates memory. So one thing to take away if you are considering doing your backlog like this is writing your thoughts about each game you play once you finish. I really think it'll help you process and more accurately recall your adventure later. For me, not only did it do that, but it made me feel all warm and fuzzy remembering how it felt to go on that journey. It ensured it wasn't just another game on the list, it preserved it as a fond memory to look back on. Anyways, back to December. Fury is behind me now. I shake off the disappointment. Next, it's on to Final Fantasy IX. You just know that this one is a banger. Of all the Final Fantasies I have on the list, this is the one that everyone said to keep. So I dove right into this hustling, bustling world to find out what. Yeah, I quit this one after like 3 hours, and that really does bother me. But it is slow. I get stuck in this town for the longest time trying to run errands essentially until the game finally lets me start the adventure. Battles are slow to load, tents don't heal fallen party members, which I guess is a throwback to older Final Fantasies. I just quickly grow tired of wrestling with it to let me have the fun I am expecting. Meanwhile, and probably more relevant to my decision to abandon, December is coming to a close, and I have barely gotten through 5 games. Merry Christmas, everybody. Okay, it's a new year. To hell with resolutions. Let's make a bad decision right out the gate. I add more games to the backlog. I see a sale on Steam that reminds me of a series somehow none of you recommended to me back in that original backlog optimization stream. And that series is Portal. Having never touched either, both of them are avid. I play them back to back. I fall in love. I won't spend too long here because everyone has had over a decade to love and cherish these, but man, historically puzzle games have not been for me, yet this game somehow makes me adore them. It's so infinitely clever, both in its design and in its writing. GLaDOS is easily one of the best villains in a game ever. Portal 2 might be the perfect game, as I hinted at earlier, and I'm still grinning at the part where he kills us. This is the part where I kill you. Not a bit of a brainwave. There I was. How have I never played this? Then it was tough. In case you missed it, I not only played this last January, but the following month, I made an extensively in-depth video about it. I've said enough about Our God at this point. It is quite simply a gift and unquestionably a man game. 3 games down, and the month is still young. At this point, I really want to keep the momentum going, but as many people have reported to me in the past, I am also having a tough time deciding what to play next. Choice paralysis is unmerciful. There is so much to pick from. And this is the first of several times this year where I am immensely grateful for having data about each game listed on this spreadsheet. It suddenly makes choosing the next game a simple process of elimination. First of all, do I own the game? I've already blown a bunch of money on Magic the Gathering this month, so let's settle on something I have. Second, how long of a game am I looking for? I've got to get started on a script, so maybe something not too big. I've already done puzzles and space exploration, maybe something a little less involved. It doesn't take me long to arrive at a decision, and thanks to this method, it doesn't take me long the entire year. Having this data is helpful. If you want to do this, make sure you have it. It's your sword and shield against the choice paralysis. And along comes a Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a game I'd seen a little bit of and was under the impression it would be pretty short, but I am shocked to find myself falling deeper and deeper into this whirlpool of a meta narrative. It's one of the few games you'll hear me say this about today. I've never really played anything quite like it. There are no comparisons. 4 games down. I start Catherine full body and then abandon it about 2 hours in. I watched my friend play it way back in the day, and in the process of researching a video last year, I was spoiled to all of the endings. And yeah, wouldn't you know it, suddenly not interested in finishing. I blink, and then January comes hours to a close. I have touched what, 5 games. I didn't know how many would be on the backlog at the time once new releases were factored in and other ones were added on a whim like Portal, but I knew that it was going to be in the neighborhood of 90, meaning I needed to be putting away 7 to 8 games a month, and for the third straight month, that had not happened. I am chronically behind pace. This behemoth of a list is still snorting and sweating just over my shoulder, but all I can do is move forward. February will be better, surely, but channel work begins to steadily pick up. I force myself to address a drastic miscalculation. Allow me to take you through my typical workday to illustrate the point. 4:45 a.m. I wake up, and from 5 to 7, I either go work on a video or play a game, depending on how pressing the next video's release date is. At 7, I take my 2 dogs out and feed them. Then I log into my work from home day job. Not many of you know this, but YouTube is not full time for me yet. So from 7 to 4, barring an hour lunch break, I can either play games or work on videos. In the evenings, between being a husband, caring for the dogs, running errands, and cooking dinner, I can usually find around 2 solid hours to myself. The weekends are always a wild card. Typically, this is where I get most of my YouTube work done. There is often time for gaming, but it just depends on how much household stuff we have to do, then how much YouTube stuff I have to do, then I can potentially play a game. This is the real culprit behind my abysmal pace I assert one morning as I gaze at the wall of titles. At 1,600 hours, I need over 4 hours a day to complete everything. I pointed this out last year. If 3 weeks out of the month I have to prioritize video production, you see the problem. I can tell. How on earth did I not? Panic begins to set in. It's February. Maybe by next November, everyone will have just forgotten about this. Maybe I'll just push the follow up video back. Maybe I know. There's still a way. Something has to give. And so, something will. In a desperate attempt to keep pace, whether consciously or perhaps subconsciously, I do the only thing I can. I play games, and I don't finish them. My patience for Observer is extremely thin. This is a cyberpunk detective game, and I can't figure out how to progress past the first room. I abandon it after a confusing hour. I give Prey a chance. The opening is sensational. This is how you open a game. I wish I had played this before the elevator video. And then, a few hours in, my enthusiasm vaporizes. The combat is vexing me. Maybe shooters aren't my thing, I wonder. There is a moral conundrum with a prisoner that I find especially remarkable, but then I get one-shotted by an electrical plug. I've had enough. Skill issue, I know, but abandoned. Luigi's Mansion 3 is cute, but the flavor of it turns to ash on my tongue 2 hours in. Abandoned. And then finally, in the highlight of the month, Dishonored 2 makes me realize that stealth games are harder than FromSoft games. It is clear that Dishonored 2 is brilliant. The Clockwork Mansion is incredible. Shorting out the Clockwork soldiers and making them do my dirty work makes me feel almost as cool as that time in Bioshock when I made two big daddies fight each other, but I don't have the patience to finish it out. The plot is completely lost on me as I have never played Dishonored 1. Every time haunted Zachary Quinto comes on screen, I innocently smile, lost as a puppy watching a chess match. Maybe I'll revisit them someday. Maybe I'll enjoy it more if I play them in the right order. Abandoned. Hey, current day Daryl again. In hindsight, if you're planning to plot out your backlog like I did, this section may not be the best advice for how you know when it's time to abandon a game. What you're seeing here is stress-induced hasty decision making. Knowing when it's time to quit a game is a delicate art, but in reality, I think it's different for everyone. Never feel like you owe it to a game to try X amount of it, though. If you aren't feeling it, you don't have to explain yourself. It's meant to be fun, and if you feel like you've given it a fair shot and it's not that, let it go. Oh, and don't be ashamed of walkthroughs if you need a little bit of help. I think one of those would have helped me with a lot of these games because they'll come in handy in a few months when I get impatient for some games that I'm super grateful I finished. So, yeah, give games what you feel like is enough. With the exception of Dishonored, I don't think I did that here. I hope you can learn from my mistakes. Okay, back to February. It is at this point that I decide to edit the background a bit. Because my patience is at an all-time low, I scrap Spiritfarer and Kirby in the Forgotten Land from the list because I suddenly realize I have absolutely no desire to play them despite a handful of recommendations. Something has broken in me this February. I give a damn crops are beginning to wilt for this long winter. I am disappointed in myself, but I can't help but notice a tiny ripple of peace wash over my soul with seeing these two rows deleted. I replaced Resi 4 with Resi 4 Remake because it looks delightful but feels silly to play both games. I add Signalis to replace Spiritfarer on account of actually being interested in it. February draws to a close, I'm drowned in work, and despite playing a handful of things, I don't beat a single game the entire month. I decide that what I need is a little life, a little fire, something that'll get me out of my seat, something that'll make me smile, something like Danganronpa 2. No, that's not it. I did not beat this game. I got a few hours in, and it was not it, though. I remember liking the first one, but I'm older now. This isn't for me anymore. But, I do accept that this is just going to be extremely tough. Vomit and Razor Pitch. Hand me The Last of Us. I've never played. And damn it, boy, if this game doesn't jump up and remind me that this project is supposed to be fun. I wholeheartedly do not expect to like this as much as I do, especially considering all the expectations I have about it being a masterpiece. But it actually is damn good. It's a man game. I want to make a video about why this is such a personal experience for me, but only 8 months left. Gotta keep moving. After abandoning Danganronpa 2, I decided that this list should prioritize new genres and series as things I have not touched yet. So at this point, I take off Bioshock 2 and replace it with Gravity Rush. And Gravity Rush is an absolute, it's fine. It's good, it's fun. The movement really works when it works, and doesn't when it doesn't. The presentation is all there, the story is all there, and Cat is cute as a button. Damn, 2 games beat. I'm on a roll. Tetris effect. Yes, sir. Everything I expected. I'm playing Tetris, but my soul is also at one with the universe and everything in it. This shit has my mind more blown than a One Piece fan discovering that other anime exists. That's right, baby. Daddy's here. Everything's gonna be alright. I wasn't prepared for Psychonauts. Never have I ever played it, never seen it, never knew what it was about, anything. When I tell you that booting it up made me crave goldfish, a lightsaber gogurt, and a zoo book, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. This game somehow makes me feel like a kid without relying on any nostalgia. I am having a blasty blast playing this. Until that last area, I'll talk about that. Anyways, 4 in a row, the streak lives. I boot up the remnants of Nasith. It kicks my ass. I give up. R.I.P. streak. Then, on one spontaneous evening with the lads in the Discord call, I decide to add a game called The Complex Found Footage. All the liminal space talk this year has me feeling some kind of way, and it only takes about an hour to beat this, but it is a very dense hour. I'm also a coward. But March, I realize, is the first time I've actually gotten through 7 games. So, with a little bit of luck, I can get right back in this thing. I have a few days left, so I boot up Persona 4 Golden, which... Whoa. Hang on. What? Oh man, this was so much fun, but why is it so hot all of a sudden? No. No. No! Persona 4 Golden consumes all of April and all of May. Per my very brief notes, the entire month of April consists of 3 things: going on a week-long vacation, being behind on a video, and playing Persona 4 Golden. Oh, I think I also sold a backlog shirt that no one bought. May, it appears I did in fact start Tears of the Kingdom with everyone else. I even played some shorter games. One Shot, which, yes, I do seem to have some footage for, and Citizen Sleeper. Oh yeah, Citizen Sleeper. That was really good. It was astonishingly good. I can't believe I liked a tabletop RPG style story. Maybe there's hope for Disco Elysium. Gave this a few hours. It felt like 2D Bloodborne to me, that's worth another look one day. Tears of the Kingdom, yeah, I mean, that's been magnificent. But Persona 4 Golden, man, what did you do to me? Where did the time go? A dark, swirling storm cell of dread begins to roll in as I swallow the fact that it's taken me 2 months to put away 3.5 games. But I have a realization this moment. A gust of clarity parts the clouds of my anxiety, and I realize that time flew because I had fun playing Persona 4 because I didn't rush through it. It pacified me. It allowed me to focus. Some of my best work on the channel this year comes out during this window, and I realize that this entire backlog project is a fucking joke. You can't play all these games in this short window and expect to actually enjoy them. You can't rush it and still have fun. You can't. Yes, you can. The problem is RPGs. They're far too long. I can't afford another Persona 4 Golden. Plus, it's well established that I like RPGs. There's nothing to discover here. So the following RPGs I decide would be saved for after the backlog. I like this idea of baby Mosesing away titles that I know I won't want to rush. This is the play, and it makes up for all the time I lost. I'm back in the game, right on schedule. I roll credits on Tears of the Kingdom. What can I say that hasn't already been said? Tears of the Daryl. I decide to scrap these 3 games off the list simply because I want to. I'm tired of feigning interest in them just because other people have sung my praises. I play Happy Game. It is not a happy game. I play Absu. It is beautiful, colorful, vibrant, and inspiring, and it makes me have to pee. I abandoned Cultist Simulator after losing patience with it. I read online that the entire point is to be lost at first, then figure things out as you go. Once again, my patience is Oreo Thins thin, and I'm no longer ashamed of it. Milk outside a bag of milk outside a bag of milk feels like it's brilliant if you notice all the little subtleties in the narrative, but there is no time for that. I finish it and move on before my thoughts have a chance to really unpack what I've just played. It bothers me that this doesn't bother me. But I find solace in the fact that after shelving a few titles, saving others for later, and beating some, 19 games have been crossed off in the last 3 months, not far off the 7 to 8 game per month pace. I've stopped the bleeding from Persona. Yukiko's laughter echoes in my mind. She does a lot of that. I smile. This might work out after all. I've been showing you a lot of stats throughout this video, and I hope that's been nice, but there's a stat that I noticed at the start of July, a stat that I have not been tracking, and this figure makes me all at once realize how much I have truly shat the bed. Street Fighter 6 was not on the original backlog. I added upon discovering this because I simply cannot have spent this kind of time on a game and not see it as a green line in this spreadsheet. I absolutely adore Street Fighter. I realize I'm desperate to play it every hour. I'm in the desert and it is water. It is everything I loved about Guilty Gear, except I firmly understand all the mechanics and I'm actually playing as an upper tier character now. I have a reliable anti-air. I have reliable plus unblock options. I have abs of steel. But I know that I'm already behind on the backlog. So behind that I had to literally make the list shorter because it was too fucking hard. And yet here I am, shamelessly wasting hours upon hours I desperately need by bitching about motor controls and trying to get comfortable with the JP matchup. And I don't want to make it seem like this was all in July. The game came out in June and it continues to plague me well into September. But looking at this figure makes me realize I have slowly been surrendering. I have accepted my fate. This list isn't getting done. Furthermore, I don't think I really care. The video can be about how impossible this task really is. It can be a big joke. Look how miserably I failed. You can't optimize your life around experiences. You truly just need to be spontaneous and enjoy yourself. And maybe there's truth to that. Maybe I do feel that way. All I know at this point really is that I'm tired. The second half of July arrives. Despite my growing apathy, I still go through the motions. I play Shadow of the Colossus. I get to about the 13th one. Between the soundtrack and the grand scale of the fights, it's abundantly clear why this is so special to so many people, but parts are slow and grating. This Colossus seems to have me in some kind of unending loop where I get back control of my character just as it hits me again. I get up and am immediately hit. This continues beyond my control until the game respawns me earlier in the fight, asking me to repeat the long, tedious cat and mouse game to get back to this point. I refuse, and instead watch the remainder of the game on YouTube. Abandoned. I remove the following games from the list as I seem to have lost interest in them, or I simply feel like I don't have time for them. It's tough to say. Hey, going back, you can kind of see me struggling with when to remove games from the list, but I think that stems from the fact that keeping a list doesn't allow you to forget about games. If you're disciplined, you write everything down you might be interested in, and that's both a blessing and a curse if you can't say no to adding things. If you aren't careful, it will inflate your backlog very quickly and overwhelm. This is one of the things I got sandbagged by in this year. A Patreon comment I got not long ago shared the sentiments. If you don't write a game down and then completely forget about it, well, there's a chance it wasn't important enough to remember anyways. Something I wish I had thought about at the start of all this. Back in July, I find time to play and abandon Dear Esther. I get lost and drown. I can't even complete a walking sim. As the last week of the month approaches, I decide it's time for something I've been missing out on since 2007. Mass Effect is the next game that reminds me that this is supposed to be fun, because it is fun. The combat has moments of jank, but you put that aside, and you can barely tell it's a 16-year-old game. The amount of times I say hell yeah during my time with this game is embarrassing, but I can't help but deeply care for all of my crew. It's so cheesy sometimes, yet a smile continually stretches across my face over and over during my time with it. July ends up being at least a little productive, but I can't help but kick myself for letting Street Fighter illustrate how much time I can find and then just waste. Then my thoughts betray me. I don't think it was a waste, though. I think I loved every second of grinding Street Fighter, even if it did derail some stupid backlog project. I settled to a reluctant rhythm in August. I still make a little time for Street Fighter almost every day, but I only beat one game, Signalis. I play a few others though for several hours each. Rain World is stressful in waves, but is contrasted nicely with periods of warmth and safety. The Long Dark doesn't really hook me, but I'm happy to have tried it. What the Golf is a hoot. I decide to save it for the next time I go visit my golfing buddy back home. Crosscode manages to snatch 13 hours of my time as I wander its brilliantly designed dungeons and listen to its sneaky good story before I realize it's far too special for me to rush. I decide to save it for later when I can really enjoy it. The same can be said of Bloodborne, even if I hate that I have to grind for blood vials to heal instead of just having a good old reliable Estus Flask. And of course, Signalis reminds me that I actually love survival horror. I always have since Dead Space back in the day. I just haven't played enough of the genre. That'll change. Overall, I look back on August fondly. Even if I didn't beat everything, I touched a lot, and it feels like enough. If there's anything I'm grateful for in this backlog process, it's that once upon a time, it deeply bothered me that I hadn't played quintessential games. I hated knowing that other essayists were playing something interesting and I wasn't going to be the first to talk about it. I hated being left out of a conversation because, oh, I've never played Halo, I've never played Metal Gear Solid. This backlog project cured me of that. When September arrives, I could not care less what other people have or have not played. I do not care what I am supposed to have played as a YouTuber. I do not care what anyone thinks about how I spend my time. Suddenly, this all becomes very funny because I could just put my head down and start playing games, but instead, I start September by reading a book. I started a book. Like what? I knew nothing about this book. We were in Barnes and Noble, and my wife said, "I heard this is pretty good," and I was like, "My time has come." What? I used to procrastinate reading books with video games. Now I'm procrastinating video games with a book. I stop myself about 3 chapters in. Something deep inside me reaches up and grabs me. Daryl, you can't do this. For fuck's sake, man. How deep of a hole are we going to dig here? I close the book. You're right, Daryl. There's still hope. Maybe if I just knock out some shorter games, I can build some momentum. To hell with this book. Ugh. Get away from me. Disgusting. I'm above you. So anyways, I'll read the entire book. It's really good. And then I decided to go play some short indies. Played Hyperbolica. It was trippy, but I'll keep it a buck. It made me motion sick, so I abandoned it. Played Superliminal instead. Beat it. It was oddly inspiring at the end. Wasn't expecting that. Played some Manifold Garden. It was unbelievably trippy. I wanted to experience that infinite architecture firsthand, and I did until I eventually got burned out on puzzles and abandoned it. Next was Sayonara Wild Heart, and it was the best way I can describe it is several contained but intense religious experiences, many emotional breakdowns. Every part was my favorite part. It was gorgeous, it was moving, it was dramatic. I actually just watched this on YouTube. I've got to be honest with you. I stand by what I said, but when I was considering starting it, I decided to look up some gameplay, and before I knew it, an hour had passed, and I watched the whole thing. It's a damn good game. Please go play it, actually. Despite how hopeless things felt at this point and how little I actually cared what happened, I did realize as October drew near that I only really had October left. Most of November would be spent writing this video, so I only had just over a month left to actually play stuff. My heart flutters at the prospect of being done. Even if I fell short, it would be over, and then I could go play some of those beautiful RPGs I set aside, which makes me think, how ass backwards is it that I'm excited to be done playing games so that I can go play games? Somehow, I've turned something I love into a chore. Last year, I talked about Edka, Xenoblade 2, and how completely blown away he looked watching those credits, all to illustrate how none of us want to miss an experience like that. The point of the backlog for all of us is obviously to find these games, the ones that when you watch the credits roll, leave you speechless, short of perhaps just a simple man. But something I neglected to mention was that he spent like over 500 hours playing it. The point being, it takes time to cultivate love for a game or a story or anything in life, and that's something that's extremely tough to do when you're constantly looking ahead to the next thing. All summer, I find myself in a perpetual angry fog. I am irritated at the smallest things for months. Small daily responsibilities infuriate me. I feel like I can't rest or really enjoy spending more than a few hours on anything. Time is ticking. There is always something next I have to do, be it a video or an errand or a game or an email, and I can't shake it. It's like sleepwalking with tacks in my shoes. So I take a break and I confide in my wife about this. She then says something very wise. You can't be present when you're always looking forward. You just need to live in the moment. It hits me that this is what made Street Fighter such a release for me. There is nothing to cross off about it. It's fun for the sake of being fun, and I want to play it. And don't get me wrong, there's still quite a bit on the list at this point I want to play, but the time limit melted away all the wonder and thrill of them down into boxes to be checked, lines, and an Excel sheet. It's at this point clarity floods my eyes for the first time all year, and I see what needs to happen. I have a plan. It's go time. The first thing I need to do is be realistic. This is how much time I have to play with only about 5 weeks left, so unfortunately, I make the decision to remove these games from the backlog on the basis of lack of interest. Next, I save these for later, since I'm either familiar with them or their sequels. This is the last round of removals, and everything remaining is getting played. I make a bold decision. I boot up a 30-hour game because, once again, it's time for something to remind me why I'm doing this. And 13 Sentinels Gauge Rim is exactly that. This is one of those games that is truly unlike anything I've ever played. Nothing else really tells a story the way this game does. There are 13 main characters. This should be overwhelming, but I embrace its wildly intertwining story and find myself blissfully tangled in its web. Its graph sort of looks like this. This character is my favorite. I decide, no. This is my favorite character. Hang on, wait. this is my favorite character. No, this is my favorite. It's one of those games. Even the combat is not to know it's actually my favorite though. Even the combat is a delight. I hear whispers that it's the best story in gaming, which like how do you define that? But it's certainly one that I think will stand the test of time and is told unlike anything else I've ever seen. Man, this takes almost 2 weeks, but I'm not discouraged anymore. On a whim, I even throw a short new game on the list.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
Slay the Princess, or as I like to call it, I Can Fix Her Simulator, is yet another game that I think I would have enjoyed much more if I wasn't on the clock. It's a little decisions matter visual novel that I probably should have saved for after this, but it's clear that there is a lot under the hood here. Happy to have played it, I move on. Then, I accidentally start playing Sea of Stars because I find myself having to wait on something which I don't have time to do. So here I am, enjoying a game I pretty much knew I was going to enjoy. Dreamlike pixel art, a story that promises to wow, combat that likens to the old Alpha Dream Mario and Luigi RPGs. Everything about this game is clicking for me right down to the... Oh, shit! Here we go! This is what I had to wait on. I saved Sea of Stars for later. It's time to lose my Resident Evil virginity. Time to see what the buzz is all about. And hot damn, this is one fat bumblebee. I had the wrong impression of Resi. I thought it was this uber serious hardcore horror series, and it kind of is, but it's also so silly and video gamey sometimes. It's corny, and it knows it. Music, characters, level design, puzzles, location. The castle especially blows me away. Over the 3 days I play this game, it rains on every one of them after not raining for weeks. And as someone who adores rainstorms, this weekend felt like a perfect little slice of heaven. Man, this is why I do this. This is what the backlog is for. Next is Devil May Cry 5. Now, I've never played a DMC game. I don't fully understand what is happening in this plot, but
It's so fucking cool!
I do roll credits on this, but I can tell I've only scratched the surface of really playing a DMC game. I was winning and progressing, but it felt like I was letting the game down by not playing perfectly. I think at some point I'll go back and do just that. Then I put about 2 hours into Disco Elysium. Immediately I can see that the writing here is tremendous, off the charts. Even the premise of waking up, being informed you're a detective and clumsily investigating a death is fantastic, but I look at all of the D&D elements and quickly become overwhelmed. I abandon it for now. Maybe I'll come back to it down the line. And then what the hell is this game? Lisa the Painful. Initially, I get lost and abandoned after playing on the Switch handheld one morning, but a few weeks later, to get some footage, I start the game over and things start to click. Maybe I should give this another look. I save it for later. Devotion is next, since Halloween is approaching, and Devotion is... Would you believe if I told you this game is actually kind of beautiful at the end? And on Halloween night, I finish Silent Hill 2. The best way I can describe this game is that I hate every second of my time with it, and yet I can't stop thinking about it. Most horror games tease you and poke you, you scream and giggle. You're playing them because you want to be scared, and they want to scare you. But when I walk through the foggy streets and mildewing hallways of Silent Hill, I don't want to be here. The sound design, the dissonant music, the unforgiving camera, the clumsy controls, the subtle reflections of James's subconscious, all just make this the most unfun game I could possibly be playing, and yet, again, it stays with me. Guess it's time to add to the mountain of Silent Hill 2 videos out there. Then, something hits me. I'm making healthy progress. At 7 games down, some being pretty sizable ones, I'm on a pace that, had I sustained for the entire year, I might have been able to actually do this the way I intended. And furthermore, I'm having more fun than I've had all year. It's suddenly easy to put away games now that the pressure is off. In case it wasn't already blindingly clear, this is even more evidence that the time limit is the issue. But I'm also left with the discovery that this year has fostered a great habit in me. I'm wanting to play more games. I'm deciding what to play next quicker. I'm playing more efficiently, and I'm not afraid to try any genre. The backlog was a giant swirling vortex of panic that followed me all year, but if you take away the time limit, the winds subside, and I discover that those winds are carrying every variety of sweet, delectable experience imaginable. Chocolate tornado. This method works when you remove the deadline. And even if I didn't finish on the terms I would have liked, I'm still left with the habits it developed. The sun goes down and it rises on November. There is only one game left.
Oh, wait.
November is the month I actually have to write the script, so I only have a little bit of time to work with. Now, before I boot up this final 8-hour game, I go back and check my list of removed games. Is there anything here I feel like I can squeeze in to help my numbers? Is there anything I regret taking off? And at this point, I notice just how many there are. I stare at this lethal gash that has been taken out of the original list that I spent so much time crafting 1 year ago. My inner dialogues begin to argue. Part of me feels like I let you all down. This voice thinks that I failed the hundreds of thousands of people that watched that video last year. I'm nowhere close to what I intended. I didn't even try almost half the list. And another voice calmly says, yes, but let's be honest, you don't want to try any of these. You just want to be able to say that you did. I listen to both voices, and I begin the final game on the backlog, a game that I had no clue how much I needed to play. And that game is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, a game unlike anything I have ever played. Here's what climbing a ladder in Hellblade is like. This is the only thing I've ever played where there are no other real characters to interact with, and yet I never ever feel alone.
Go in. You have to get it. It's too dark. Take it. This will help you. You have to be able to see.
The team at Ninja Theory worked with real therapists and psychologists to build as accurate a portrayal of psychosis as they possibly could. Psychosis is a collection of symptoms I've never experienced, but allegedly what we see Senua go through is pretty damn on point. This game does a spectacular job of illustrating inner conflict in one of the most visually and auditorily bombastic. I'm going to tell you how the final stretch of the game works. This is technically a spoiler, but the game has been out for 6 years now, and I'm not going to tell you what it means for Senua's story, but I am going to tell you what it means for mine. Senua walks through a gate. The camera pans, and we see an uncomfortably colossal being. She charges for it, screaming, dripping with blood and rage. The being shrieks, and she is blown back only to find herself confronted with a horde of illusions. She fights them off. The process repeats. She falls and coughs up blood. Another horde. She fights on. This time the enemies are tougher. I fight harder. Again she charges. Again more enemies. I move. She moves. I swing. She swings. I block. She parries. This backlog is getting finished, and she is getting the ending she deserves. But as time goes on, I realize a few things. This fight isn't ending. The foes keep coming, and despite how many times I fail, she still gets up, even though I've definitely hit a game over plenty of times in previous stages. More illusions, more than ever before. There are too many of them, and I can't realistically keep up. I begin to get angry. How on earth could the devs expect anyone to last this long, much less think this is fun? There are too damn many. Again and again she falls. Again and again more enemies spawn. I grit my teeth and I swear, there is no end to this. Let me fight the final boss already. But the voices begin to chime in.
We're going to die.
And I ignore them. I'm going to win. Senna falls.
Let go, Senna.
I don't let go.
Stop.
I don't stop.
Let go, Senna.
I won't. I have to beat this. It's my last game. I have to do this. I want to be done. I want to. I am then presented with an ending that 2 seconds into, I reject. I immediately pause the game because I'm sure that I failed and that this is the bad ending. I take to the internet and discover that you cannot actually win Hellblade. You can only lose that final fight. It's impossible intentionally. This is the only ending. Upon reading this, I don't really know what to feel. Poetically, I couldn't beat the final game on my backlog list. But maybe that's the point. I think the reason that final fight cut me so deeply is because it perfectly illustrated exactly how this whole year-long endeavor felt. No matter what I did, no matter how many games I played, another one was always there. Another one will always be there. It's an impossible task. Senua's Tale is one of accepting and letting go, and that's what I had to do. This year has taught me that the only way to beat the backlog is to accept that you can't beat it. Because as soon as it becomes a destination, you completely disregard the journey. And the journey is what we do this for, what we do anything for, why we live. Did finishing my backlog make me happy? No, it didn't. But trying to do so, experiencing all of the little things it's made of, every adventure, every romance, every friendship, every parry, every checkpoint, every dungeon, every chapter, every step, absolutely did. So, should you try this? Should you organize your backlog and finish it? Absolutely. Just maybe don't put a time limit on it because that is unquestionably my biggest regret. I think the tracking list actually works wonders. Like I said, the habits are in me now. I've started my next backlog, a much smaller, more manageable list of about 20 that I'm thrilled to dive into. And I'm not afraid to try any genre now. I may not have succeeded, but I'm happy with who I became in the process. And I've had so many people message me over the years to share their experiences. People have sent their spreadsheets and told me how much they've beaten, how much they've prioritized and actually finished games they've been meaning to play for the longest. This clearly works for a great game. So if you're interested in trying this, go for it. If you've already started, let me know how it is going down below. The biggest difference from who I was last year to now is that now I'm at peace with all of the things I'll never get to play, all of the things in life I'll never get to experience because the pursuit of everything paradoxically costs you everything. Stressing over the backlog distracts from enjoying it, and I refuse to waste my life searching when I should spend it savoring. I wanted to spend way too much time playing Street Fighter, put 500 hours into a JRPG, play Resi 4 again on a higher difficulty, and then go write about it. And in between, I look forward to knocking down the never-ending backlog at a healthy pace. I'm grateful that I tried this. I hope you try it too. Just, don't give yourself a deadline. Play what calls your name. Don't be afraid to drop it if you are feeling it. Take your time, write about what you play, and don't ever worry about what's next when you're living in the moment. With a little bit of luck and with a lot of determination, there's no doubt you'll find yourself staring at the credits rolling with a smile on your face, speechless, save for one man. Hey you, thanks for watching what is probably the longest video I'll ever make. Turns out recounting an entire year of events takes a while. Thank you so very much for making this possible. This support I've had around this all year has been unreal. You are all amazing. If you like what you see here and want to support the show, for $1 a month over on Patreon, you can get bonus content like live streams, creative inputs, bloopers, weekly updates, and your name in the credits, like you see here. Link down below. Oh, and I'm selling this shirt again, by the way. That link is also down there somewhere. Shout out to this month's featured patrons: Airman121, Fly, Jimmy Stewart, Michael Lockett, Pascal Case, Eustace, More Cowbell, and Neo. Thanks again for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know how your backlog is going in the comments, and please, genuinely, have yourself a damn good one. I'm just kidding. But could you imagine? It is Box to the Right season. And what a box to ring it in. Come to think of it, I've noticed a steep rise in Wii U's being used for not Wii U. So what's the point of this thing outside of collateral damage? Well, I'm glad I asked. The Wii U has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember, especially when I don't consider the first 15 years of my life canon. So what better way to make up for it than by spending the next 15 years of my life explaining it? Hail Scott here. This was what I was born to do. Nintendo is the most beloved and iconic video game company of all time. They've created not only some of the most well-known video games out there, but the consoles you play them on as well. The Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii. Get that! Nintendo Switch. I'm sorry, you must be asking, what the impotence? This is the Wii U, Nintendo's sixth home console and worst performing system of all time. There are some bad eggs here and there they released, like Virtual Boy and Game Boy Micro, but those felt more like Nintendo looked over at their friends going, hey, check this out. They were little offshoots, not necessarily the next generation system the Wii U was, and Nintendo obviously expected it to mimic the success of their previous endeavors, and it couldn't even mimic the failures. Yes, I am a veteran of the Wii U generation, and unlike other people, I supported Nintendo throughout the whole thing to an embarrassing degree, and what did I get for all of it? I haven't been able to eat out for the past 6 years. The Wii U was one of the first consoles I consumed literally everything about from start to finish. All the news, reviews, updates, previews, rumors, leaks, the games themselves. I may have gotten a C in calculus, but I definitely played Dr. Luigi. Sure, I was there for the Nintendo 3DS's entire lifespan, but we're talking home consoles here, and concerning all of their systems before the Wii U, I wasn't nearly as attentive with them news-wise. I'd hop online to read up on them every now and then, but with the Wii U, let's just say I learned to define my priorities. Might as well put all that info I retained to good use. I may have talked about the Wii U at length this many times before, but that was my peak buzz era of Wii U talk. I'm ready for a big boy discussion because, let's be honest, not a lot of people know about the Wii U. You take the 13 or so million Wii U's sold and subtract that by, what's the general population of the world? Yeah, this is the number of people who haven't been disappointed. Well, that's all going to change. Because if I'm depressed, it's because you aren't too. This is a console I could talk about until the end of time. They'll settle for 6 hours. Let's talk about Nintendo's garbage. You may think this is my EKG. No, it's also the history of Nintendo video game console sales. We should both get that checked out. Because as groundbreaking as Nintendo's first major home console, the NES, was in 1985, selling over 60 million units, each system they released afterwards sold less and less, with their fourth platform, the GameCube, selling a measly 21 million. Not lived up to all kinds of factors. They were too approved. It didn't matter if they had the most powerful hardware and a capable controller, all at an affordable price, because damn it, I can't to this. In addition to numerous stupid ass choices Nintendo made with their products, no CD or DVD playback on GameCube, barely any online multiplayer capabilities, the amount of stuff developers could fit on the GameCube discs and Nintendo 64 cartridges paled in comparison to the competition. So at the end of the day, what Nintendo took away from their dwindling sales was how just making a new game console that was simply more powerful and made to compete with the Xbox and PlayStation wasn't going to work for them. They needed to do something different, something that made them stand out from everything else and define what it meant to be a video game console. And they weren't going to be competing against the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. They were going to be competing against Grandpa's insulin pump. The Wii was Nintendo's seventh home console, and at the time became their most successful, selling over 100 million units. How did that happen? Okay. Instead of cramming new, high-end tech to display next-generation graphics in this puppy, Nintendo opted to fuck up. The Wii was pretty much Nintendo repackaging the GameCube again with a few enhancements. If Nintendo did set out not to compete with the others, they succeeded. Hey, Nintendo didn't need fancy-ass HD graphics because they were able to sell the Wii on the controller alone. The Wii Remote, bringing motion control to the masses. Now, they weren't the first to utilize this functionality, but they were the first to make it accessible and seamless. Sony put out the iToy for the PlayStation 2 before, but there was nothing to set up with the Wii Remote. There was nothing to learn. It was so natural. Everybody could use it. Okay, well, not everybody. Because of this, the Wii appealed to a whole new audience. The word coupled that with how affordable it was due to using old technology, classic Nintendo franchises appearing on the console, brand new casual titles taking advantage of the unique controller, and you have a recipe for. Yeah, the Wii was insanely popular, but I'd argue it wasn't healthy popularity. It was almost more of a fad, something everybody had to have for a few years. You couldn't get a Wii for the longest time. They were always out of stock, which made people who weren't even interested in the damn thing thinking they had to have it. And a lot of the casual audience got hooked on the pack entitled Wii Sports, maybe bought a few more games outside of that, and then just used the console to stream Netflix on. The core gamers, there was definitely stuff that appealed to them on Wii, but it just wasn't enough. There was a big little asterisk on them, like, oh, here's the return of one of your retro favorites, Donkey Kong Country. Now, with mandatory motion controls, many core fans felt burned by this system. It wasn't powerful enough, didn't have great online multiplayer, many games that would have been awesome shoved so motion control down your throat. So the casual audience wasn't reliable supporting the console long term. The core audience lost interest in the Wii around the time Nintendo pushed Wii Music as their big holiday title. Everybody was miserable. Listen, I love the Wii, as do millions, but it's always been a flawed system. It may have appealed to everybody, but it didn't satisfy them, which is why near the end of the Wii's life around 2010 to 2011, many casual owners shifted over to iPhones, iPads, and iPod Touches to get their gaming fix, and many core fans bought an Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3. People were losing interest in the Wii. So, what did Nintendo do? Well, this makes more sense than Wii U. During the Wii era, there was constant discussion and speculation around Nintendo releasing either a successor or a slight upgrade to the console, oftentimes referred to as Wii HD. Of course, something named this never happened. I'm naming my kid this just to make it true. But it's obvious something along these lines would have helped the Wii maintain relevancy later in its life. By 2010, this system was looking rough, and not including an HDMI port was becoming less and less acceptable with each passing year. Though it was at E3 2010 that then Nintendo president Satoru Iwata commented on the idea of a Wii successor, claiming it would only happen when they ran out of ideas. They never said they wouldn't run out of ideas soon. Iwata later clarified that, of course, Nintendo was working on a new system. They pretty much start thinking about the next thing when the next thing comes out right after the next thing. He was primarily addressing the idea of Nintendo creating a new console simply to make a more powerful HD system. That just wasn't going to happen. There needed to be a reason to make that new platform, to be able to do things you weren't able to do before. Finally, a reason for Mario Kart 10 to be. Enter 2011, the year when everything started to change. When years started to enter, 2010 was actually a really solid year for the Wii. We got Super Mario Galaxy 2, Donkey Kong Country Returns, Kirby's Epic Yarn. That felt like a bit of a comeback for the system. And moving into the next year, I had high expectations for what Nintendo was about to do next. I am sad. In the spring of that year, right after Nintendo's latest portable, the Nintendo 3DS launched, rumors started to pop up of their next home console, though these actually had some merit. They weren't just some industry analysts looking at a Wii and HDMI cord and going, gee, this was different. This was something. This was a mistake. Project Cafe was the code name floating around. Apparently, it would be HD and have specs that were on par with the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, with an announcement coming at E3 2011 and releasing in late 2012. Unlike previous rumors, this one was backed by numerous sources like IGN, and if IGN says it's true, Nintendo commented on the rumors by simply saying, stay tuned. The official E3 Twitter account was hamming it all up. It's obvious something was going to happen here. And with more info coming out pretty much every hour. Now it was more powerful than the 360 and PS3. Well, actually, it's just slightly more powerful than an Xbox 360. The console that released 6 years prior. Say what you will about Lupus with an Intel Lemon was better. It was apparently backwards compatible with the Wii and GameCube, plus compatible with an all-new, very original controller, which could have meant anything. Say what you will, the controller's original. It quickly came out that this new console's controller would house an HD screen on it. I can barely see shapes on this thing. Yet, out of all the rumors, this little tidbit was one of the most consistent. The fact the controller was gonna have some kind of screen on it, which wasn't a completely new concept, even for Nintendo. We had the Sega Dreamcast, and on the GameCube, you could connect the Game Boy Advance to control some games. But this wasn't just a cute little side thing for Project Cafe. This is what the whole damn thing would be based around. I mean, the size of the screen was rumored to be 6 inches. You don't just forget 6 inches in your hands. This mock up whipped up by IGN is burned into my mind. Just a weak Classic Controller Pro with a display on top. The idea was 100% intriguing, but when it came down to actual concepts it could be used with, I mean, most of them were already done before with the Nintendo DS, using the bottom touchscreen to view a map or quick select items. Multiplayer games would definitely benefit from the extra screen. You could do all kinds of things with that. One player could see things the others couldn't, or you wouldn't have to put up with split screen in some instances. The 2 players could each get their own dedicated display. I remember hearing fans come up with a few ideas on their own, like in Mario Kart, you could use the controller as a rear view mirror. But at what cost, man? I mean, these were all cool enough concepts, but a screen that big on a wireless controller? Like, it would enhance all these things, yes, but it ain't a make it or break it. It's not like how the Wii Remote was integral to making Wii Sports the game it was. You don't need a second screen for any of these things. It may make them a little better, but not spending $150 on a controller better. But hey, this was Nintendo we were talking about. They must be doing a crazy controller like this for a reason. Surely they wouldn't base their new console around a gimmick even they didn't know how to properly utilize. It's wet! Either way, this was my life for the next 2 months. Coming home from school, refreshing the gaming news sites, and reading what they could possibly be passing off as Wii 2 updates today. This report stated Nintendo just wrapped up the core promotional materials for Project Cafe's appearance at E3, and they asked for hands. Good hands at that. I think this controller's gonna use hands. But hey, who knows? It might not even be Project Cafe. There was another rumor about this new console being codenamed Project Butterfly. The gimmick of this console being you can physically upgrade it over time by buying new expansions and add-ons to keep it technologically relevant. So a PC. What do you think the company that just made the Wii would do? A super powerful console that you never have to get rid of? You can just keep upgrading with better processors? Her funny screen controller. It didn't even matter in the end, because on a website Nintendo housed for developers and publishers, a number of URLs based on other Nintendo system codenames work. Ones containing references to Nitro, the Nintendo DS codename, CTR, the 3DS one, and interestingly enough, Cafe was a valid URL, implying that, yes, we were fooled. Later on, a header image on that same developer's website detailing Cafe support was uncovered, pretty much confirming that Project Cafe was the official codename for the device. The Project Butterfly community has never been at a lower point. So we pretty much knew the internal project name, but what about the final one? Wii 2 was the easiest to use at this stage, though Super Wii was a popular one. Other names that made the rounds included Stream, Feel, and Nintendo. The same people that wanted the console to just be called Nintendo complained that the Wii U name was too confusing. Don't call it dog or cat, call it what I want. Not a dog. On April 25th, 2011, Nintendo officially announced that
was ecstasy. It was all anybody could talk about in the Nintendo sphere until E3. Constant rumors and speculation as to what the hardware was, what games were coming to it. It was driving me crazy. I mean, what could it be? Disappointing. Yeah, let's talk about this underwhelming crotchvoter reveal. E3 2011. Nintendo held a conference on June 7th where they opened with a gorgeous orchestra celebrating the past 25 years of The Legend of Zelda, building up to the release of Skyward Sword later that year. Went on detailing a handful of groundbreaking Nintendo 3DS titles that would define the handheld, such as Super Mario 3D Land, Mario Kart 7, Kid Icarus Uprising, and Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. But not before shoving Iwata out on stage to tell us what he's going to do in 5 minutes.
We are going to leave the full details for a little later this morning. But
Why not just kill me now? After some updates, then Nintendo of America president Reggie Fils-Aimé comes out on stage and says this. We were able to launch standard Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and YouTube apps, which all worked well here. In fact, they were all optimized for the system, using the gamepad in unique ways, which I will say, watching movies and TV shows, this works pretty well. On Netflix, you could scrub through on the controller, pick a new episode, or just watch on the secondary screen. It wasn't anything fancy, but I definitely used it a fair amount because of these features. However, after a while, I just ended up using the controller like normal since it required less brain power. That's the thing about two screens this far apart. Whether it's moving your eyes back and forth or cranking your neck up and down, it just never gets super comfortable. And I know that sounds pretty pathetic. I need a cigarette. But I think it just wears me down because this isn't necessary, yet it's being forced onto me like it is. Netflix couldn't be controlled with anything other than the gamepad. And while there are benefits, using this all the time can get kind of overbearing. I felt like that with the weird mode and 3DS's 3D effects. Those were genuine innovations, yet they were oftentimes used improperly. It all comes down to that one thing, that one game that can prove the worth of a gimmick. And luckily, at the Wii U's launch, we had over 20 games released alongside it. Will at least one of these validate the console? Our dogs, cats. Wii U games came in these here blue cases, with this droopy-ass header featuring a yellow trim. A really odd direction to go in, especially considering this is fundamentally the GameCube box art template. You know, Nintendo's worst-selling console at the time. Yeah, I'm gonna do the thing I did to get shot in the face again. The world is out to get me. I don't think these are ugly boxes. Rather, they're just kinda lame. It feels like they wanted to ensure there was no way you'd mistake these for Wii games. But in doing that, they just ended up making these look awkward, if anything. The header continues over to the spine, where we get this ridge that never lines up correctly with games surrounding it. The font on the spine constantly changes between a default one, also reminiscent of the GameCube, the actual stylized logos, and sometimes a strange middle ground between the two. The overall aesthetic just feels like it can't be taken seriously, which is just bizarre considering this is the console Nintendo wanted to win the hardcore back with. Yet the box art design looks way goofier and kid-like than the Wii's. I don't know. I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't charmed by these boxes. I think they have a certain appeal to them. Though, my lord, do I question some elements at play here. The discs themselves can hold up to 25 gigabytes of data, similar to a Blu-ray disc, though this is its own proprietary format. We can tell by how cuddly they are. My god, these things have the smoothest edges of any disc, and they feel so nice in the hands. Now, why did they do this? Well, why am I doing this? It doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, it's all about what's on these discs, not what's around them. I got that one down for later. Let's finally start taking a look at the Wii U's launch lineup, starting with the most notable releases, those published by Nintendo themselves, of which there were 4 games: Nintendo Land, New Super Mario Bros. U, Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, and Sing Party. Obviously, we should bring in the new system with the deluxe sets packet. This is Nintendo Land. And this is a good idea. We use Wii Sports, huh? That sentiment alone caused many to immediately dismiss Nintendo Land. It's a minigame collection with Mii's using a fair amount of motion control. Yeah, I haven't seen that one before. But everything about this game felt like Nintendo was looking to bring themselves to the next level. You're visiting a Nintendo theme park with 12 attractions based on some of their franchises, with each one utilizing the gamepad in a unique way. And while these attractions are very much so minigames, they have so much depth, content, and replay value that it's sometimes hard to consider many of them just minigames. The Zelda Battle Quest attraction has two modes, two different ways to play depending on if you're playing with the gamepad or Wii remote, over a dozen stages to go through. This isn't a full game by any means, but I'd say it's meatier than Link's crossbow training, which was a full game, be it a freebie bundle with Wii Zapper. But still, this is one of 12 games, and it has that much to it. Not all of these are complete winners. Some of them use the gamepad in pretty pointless ways. Others are just flat out not great. But what's good here is so damn good. I'd argue that this is one of the greatest multiplayer games of all time. The attractions are split up via three categories: competitive, team based, and single player. And I'd say the competitive games are some of the best examples of how the Wii U gamepad can enhance things and offer experiences that just wouldn't be the same elsewhere. For instance, Mario Chase is basically tag. Four players on the TV, one on the gamepad with a full map of it. Such a simple idea, a timeless game at its core, but the two separate screens make it work so damn well. This is what makes the Wii U special. So why don't they focus on it? Nintendo wanted to push how the gamepad could do all kinds of things. But in the process of doing so, I feel that revealed their lack of direction with this concept. You ask what the Wii remote can do, you get a very definitive answer. What does the Wii U gamepad do? The amount of things the gamepad does in Nintendo Land feels a bit overcompensation. Some of these ideas are really great, but then you have these others where, yeah, you're using the gamepad, but are you? A lot of these could just be done with a Wii remote or work on an iPad. Some of them solve a problem that they created themselves, which can lead to some fun ideas, but that's not innovation. You can't act like this is the controller to change everything when you're actively designing your game to be harder without it. Nintendo Land doesn't do this too much, but this is a trend in game design I see consistently throughout the Wii U's life. And I would have preferred it if they focused more on the asymmetrical multiplayer-based experiences, because that's what Nintendo Land does best. And unfortunately, it's only about half of the package. The other half isn't bad. Many of the single-player experiences are quite fun, but they just don't leave the same impression. So while I'm not sure if Nintendo Land completely validates this controller's existence, it at the very least shows the potential. The groundwork is laid with this game. It shows that this thing has potential. If some of the best ideas in this package are elaborated on, then we have a game where it would feel as if the controller was specifically designed for it. While currently, it feels like the controller was designed first, and they cobbled together some experiences that could use it in some way. Visually, though, this thing is off the charts, which is really impressive considering this is the first HD Nintendo release. They stepped up their game in numerous ways with this title. A minigame collection with this much content, looking this great, being this much fun in both multiplayer and single player after years of what was often the bare minimum on Wii. Even if it didn't make as big of a splash as Wii Sports and didn't really convince the public why this controller needs to exist, Nintendo Land was still great. It's some of the most fun I've ever had in multiplayer. The single player experiences are surprisingly enjoyable. The Nintendo references obviously make the title less accessible than Wii Sports, which I also feel was something holding the game back. Nevertheless, they were cute, and the amount of effort crammed into this, ensuring it was replayable with loads of content and attention to detail, proved to me that Nintendo wanted to start this generation off on the right foot. We were officially in a new era for Nintendo. New Super Mario Bros. U. This was the main launch title everybody picked up because they didn't have a good excuse. You're really gonna sit here and act like you're too good to buy a B-grade 2D Mario? Motherfucker, you bought a Wii U. Why else would you get this at launch? You're here to play the latest Nintendo games. Do it. Because of that, on paper, launching the Wii U alongside this game made a ton of sense. New Super Mario Bros. Was a massive success, appealing to both casual and hardcore players, with New Super Mario Bros. Wii selling over 30 million units. You'd be stupid not to launch the Wii U with this, and yet I am awestruck with how stupid this was. New Super Mario Bros. U is a good game. It's yet another well-designed 2D Mario with everything you'd expect here and accounted for. However, this was the fourth New Super Mario Bros. Game, and the second released this year. What originally made this series of games so enjoyable outside of the great design and control was how they were a return to classic Mario gameplay after being absent for over a decade. The Wii entry was a return to the format on consoles and introduced simultaneous multiplayer. And after just getting this game exist? Why does it need to be on Wii U? Does it have anything that pushes the series forward? Those were some of my questions leading up to release, and Nintendo answered them. Thanks! Man, what a nothing Mario game this is. It doesn't do anything particularly bad. It just doesn't do anything at all. This doesn't feel like a sequel to New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Rather, an alternate take on it, where everything is pretty much the damn same outside of a few inconsequential elements in the level designs. I mean, it's so bad that sometimes the only way I can differentiate between Wii and U gameplay is the player icon. There's barely any meaningful additions to the core game. This is just a new Super Mario Bros. Game to play on Wii U. There's no other reason to pick this up. It's just to give you something to do with your new system. Now, with that being said, this could be far worse. For a launch title being just another Mario game as the biggest negative, that's pretty damn good. Other consoles would kill to have something remotely as good as a basic 2D Mario at launch. But for Nintendo users, this wasn't lucrative. We got these games all the time. So then, even if it is minor, what sets this game apart from the others? Well, you have Boost Mode, where one player is playing the game as per usual on the TV, while another places blocks on the gamepad. Oh, okay, well, disregard anything negative I've said about this game. Really? That's the best you can do? It's a fine feature, but my lord, this was all over the Wii U advertising as if anybody was looking at this and saying, finally, a Mario game with blocks! The world map is interconnected, much like Super Mario World, which was heavily requested prior to this, and they delivered it with half of their asses. Each world in this game is still the generic Mario themes, grass, desert, snow, so when you travel to each of them, there's a very drastic line separating things, so this doesn't feel like a world. This feels like a bunch of areas stitched together. There are baby Yoshis, which operate in fun and unique ways, alongside the new flying squirrel power-up. This new character Nabbit appears on the world map every now and then, and you can chase him to nab a special P acorn item. This is only somewhat noteworthy because Nabbit has a somewhat interesting design. The story is a little different now, in the sense that Bowser is overtaking Peach's castle, so instead of starting at Peach's castle and going to Bowser's, you're headed back to Peach's castle, now run by Bowser. I am really stressed about this reason. The main campaign is typical ass 2D Mario. It's good, but that's all it is. This ain't an experience that sticks with you. There's no real standout moments. It's something to mindlessly blast through and nothing more. Though the side modes are a bit more interesting here, specifically Challenge Mode, which was really fun to chip away at. Coin Battle allows you to edit coin placements with the Wii U gamepad, which is a pretty smart use of the controller, albeit very hidden. Many don't even know about this. I think it's a way cooler feature than Boost Mode. There's definitely a few shining moments in this package, but that doesn't take away from this being the most boring new Super Mario Brothers to me, both to talk about and to play. The level design is good, yet oftentimes very empty and overly long. The additions to the franchise don't make a difference. For the first HD Mario game, while it's clean and polished, it's not impressive or interesting to look at. New Super Mario Bros. U is just there. I was always going to buy it because it's Mario. We all love Mario games, and this is a fine one. But there's nothing exciting here. It's the same damn game they've made time and time again, which makes this a safe purchase. You know what you're going to get. And while it's good for longtime Nintendo fans at the launch of a new system, it's pretty bad for anybody else. Hey, when you get your new Wii U, you have an actual Mario game to blast through. Most of the time, you have to make do with the scraps available on launch day. But with the Wii U, hey, this is an actual game. It's fully featured with loads of levels, all playable in multiplayer. You can try and collect all the star coins to unlock everything or get gold medals on all the challenges. This gave you quite a lot to do with your system right out the gate. And I think most Nintendo fans will be playing this regardless of it being a launch title or not. So this was cool to have here. However, if you weren't a diehard Nintendo fan buying the Wii U the second it was available, why would you want this game? It looks the damn same as the game you have on Wii, but this one you have to buy a whole ass new console to play. Because of that, I don't think this game did what Nintendo wanted it to do. What I think it did was give early adopters of the Wii U an actual game to play during this period. It may not have been anything special, but it was a Mario game, and for Nintendo fans at launch, that was enough. For everybody else, why would you spend over $300 to play this? I love the color blue, and that's included for free! Nintendo Land and Mario were the big ones to get here, but that doesn't mean Nintendo didn't put out other launch titles. We can't forget Sing Party. The initial Wii U ad campaign really pushed this game as if it was a big karaoke. That's all it says. And it doesn't make it bad. It just makes me question why Nintendo went this hard with it. The same party was developed by Freestyle Games, owned by Activision at the time, known for the DJ Hero series. It uses the gamepad plus the included Wii U microphone to revolutionize karaoke. See, before, you'd be looking this way. Now, with the power of Wii U, this is just embarrassing. The idea is that you face the audience by reading the lyrics on the gamepad, while the others in the room can sing and dance along by watching the TV. You're asking a Wii U owner to face a crowd? And I'm like a deer in headlights if they had pants to piss. I think the audience for this is a bit too idealized. Like, who's doing this? The singer, you're the only one playing the game. You're the only one getting scored. And everybody else in the room, the game just asking them to dance along. It doesn't matter, they're not getting scored, they're using no controller. Just do it! If they did a Just Dance style thing for the audience, where they're dancing with weird moves while you're singing towards them, then sure, they'd be actually playing with you. But here, it's just asking people to dance for no reason. At that point, why do you need the game? Just play some music and dance. But doing that doesn't involve the Wii U microphone. Nothing other than Sing Party does! That bundled with the game, we get the official Wii U microphone, which was also sold separately at launch because you start a sentence without knowing how it's going to end. This is literally just a basic ass USB microphone. It's not as default USB mic as the ones included with Guitar Hero or Boogie, but that's all it pretty much is. So acting like this is the official Wii U microphone designed specifically for the console, I'm like, okay, sure. Like this wad of gum? See, it fits. Sing Party does support multiple microphones for multiplayer, which is definitely why they offered these separate from the bundle. And I just find this to be funny. I laughed earlier, I swear. Sing Party is a fine karaoke game. The user interface on the gamepad is slick. The track list is sure to please anybody in 2012 looking for the most inoffensive pop playlist. And that's all it really is, and I think it's silly for Nintendo to treat it as anything more. Strangely enough, I think they advertised this more than their final published launch title, Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. How could that be? Ninja Gaiden 3 originally released on 360 and PS3 back in March of 2012, following a ton of excitement. I mean, this was revealed for Wii U back at E3 2011, and the crowd went wild. And then the game came out. The crowd did not go wild at E3 2012. Ninja Gaiden 3 wasn't bad, and I think it was just really mishandled and misguided. The series was known for being brutally difficult, and 3 aimed to widen its appeal by simplifying everything and making it far easier, which translates to, I can't stop drooling. Yeah, it's pretty brain dead now. There's poor gameplay of the depth that made so many people fans of Ninja Gaiden to begin with. And the effort to appeal to more people than ever before, they ended up with a game that nobody really wanted. But hey, this isn't Ninja Gaiden 3, no, this is Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, an updated version that was actually announced as the Wii U version back in 2011. So you announced an enhanced edition a year before the actual game releases, their foresight is incredible. Now, we got the better version exclusive on Wii U for a bit, and then eventually released elsewhere. Nintendo published it on here, making it the 3rd N-rated title of theirs. Very impressive. And at this rate, tomorrow they'll be eating solid foods. Razor's Edge is still Ninja Gaiden 3 at its core, but with loads of additions, tweaks, and enhancements to make the best out of a bad situation. There's only so much you can do, especially within about half a year, and taking all of this into account, Razor's Edge is pretty impressive, and definitely the definitive version of Ninja Gaiden 3. If only this was the definitive version of Razor's Edge. The Wii gamepad doesn't do much here, just like combos you can perform, which actually isn't the worst idea for a game like this. Though for how fast-paced this is, it's pretty hard to fully take advantage of it. The new actions have touchscreen buttons, which also have normal buttons to press, so I assume this is for when I feel like mixing it up and moving my thumb 4 inches to my left. Okay, that's okay. However, probably the biggest upside here is off-TV play. Jam through the entirety of Razor's Edge on the gamepad, which was a big benefit to this version. Really, any multi-platform game on here. And when it comes to Wii U gamepad features for Ninja Gaiden, I think the way they did it here was the only true way to go. This game ain't too bad. Definitely not the best Ninja Gaiden game, but the best version of one of the worst Ninja Gaiden games. And that's everything Nintendo published at launch, which it's definitely an interesting lineup. It almost feels like something's missing. Like if they had one more game, this would be a bit more of a fully fleshed out lineup on Nintendo's end. Maybe if Lego City Undercover made launch, I don't know. I mean, it was in the launch commercial. However, as odd as these 4 games being together is, I think they make for a pretty high quality offering by the company. And nothing that I'd consider a system seller, but definitely a few must-haves for those who already owned a Wii U. But that's where the third parties come in. And nobody than Ubisoft, especially at launch, with their exclusive M-rated title, Zombie U. This right here was the biggest deal for Wii U owners. A game. But this wasn't just any game. This was a scary game. See? And a horror game exclusive to the Wii U, using the gamepad in integral ways. That sounds exactly what the doctor ordered. Side note, he sucks. However, let's not forget that Ubisoft also promised Wii owners at launch that their dreams of a gritty first-person shooter with realistic motion controls would become a reality. They also called you ugly. You can draw a lot of parallels between Zombie U and Red Steel before launch, which was a bit concerning. I mean, this game didn't turn out all too great, but Zombie U was going to be different. This had so many unique ideas. This had potential. This was going to be huge. And what it ended up being was Zombie U. Much like Ubisoft's Wii launch title, Red Steel, Zombie U received pretty mixed reviews. This was a game with some incredible ideas, utilizing the unique features of the Wii U as much as it could. However, to me, it doesn't really stick the landing. You control a survivor in the zombie apocalypse, and your duty is to survive. I'll do better, I promise. When you die in the game, your character is dead, and you wake up as a completely different survivor and try to pick up where your last character left off. In addition, the Wii U gamepad is used for numerous things, but most notably, your inventory. When you're rifling through your stuff, you have to look down at it while you're vulnerable up on the TV. You're always a little worried something's going to attack you while you're looking down. Which these are genius additions to a survival horror game. And in 2012, this genre was suffering and needed something like this. And for Zombie U to come out and not only proudly label itself as such, but also bring some great new ideas with it as well, you gotta give props for that. But those great ideas are all Zombie U really has. You can appreciate them, but you're not really experiencing them at their fullest potential. This isn't a bad game. I just find it to be an unpolished and repetitive one, which downplays the survival horror elements. These zombies take way too long to kill. While on paper that makes them more of a threat and in tandem scarier, in practice it just makes each encounter annoying and overly long. The combat isn't interesting. It's so basic, which is fine. It works, but you're going to be engaging in it so much, and it's just so tedious. The environments are really dark, which obviously makes sense, but they're so dark that it's hard to tell where I'm at most of the time. There's barely any story. The visuals look like they belonged in the original Xbox, and the overall package feels too dependent on the Wii U gamepad gimmicks and the new survivor upon death mechanic to make this worthwhile. Everything else just doesn't feel like it comes together to create a full experience. But again, that doesn't make Zombie U bad. If anything, many of the reasons I don't care for this game are why others like it. This is the definition of survival horror and brings you back to the golden age of that genre, both mechanically and aesthetically, while introducing concepts that are actually well thought out and work quite well. It's definitely a mixed bag. It isn't for everyone, which I think threw many players off who bought it because this was one of the launch titles to get. But you know what? While I was never one to get super into Zombie U, I still respect the hell out of it. Creating an exclusive M-rated game on an unproven Nintendo console at launch, heavily utilizing the new controller in a genre that most companies were too chicken to touch at the time for the sake of sales numbers, that takes gumption and foresight. While Zombie U was obviously Ubisoft's big launch title, they put out a handful of others, ranging from more Wii U exclusives to multi-platform ports, most notably Assassin's Creed 3. Tell me, how would you rather play Assassin's Creed 3? Like this or this? Other than that, it's the same game. It's pretty much identical to the PS3 and 360 releases outside of the gamepad usage, which is just a map with the option to do off-TV play buried in the options. But when we select that, the TV just tells us to look at the gamepad. Unlike Mario U, it can't do gameplay on both simultaneously. But hey, that just makes me think about the Wii U's true technical capabilities. Yeah, it may pump out games that look like just Xbox 360 titles, but for some of these titles, the Wii U had to render the image twice and stream one of them to the controller, or a completely separate image. So take what the 360 is pumping out and double. I think that is pretty impressive. So hats off to the Wii U for being able to do that, and hats off to Assassin's Creed 3 for not giving up what I think. This is a solid version. I don't think the map on the gamepad makes a crazy difference, honestly. I mean, I played this game with the mini-map in the corner and without it, having to look down at the gamepad. I mean, the less UI on screen is nice, but it's not like this stuff was covering up anything important. Plus, it was honestly a bit easier to quickly look at the mini map than it is to look down at the controller. Yeah, it's less cramped down here and we can see more, but that was never a problem before. This works just fine. I'm thankful this is an option now, keyword being option, because I'm even more thankful this isn't forced upon you. It's a cool little bonus for those who want it, making this a perfectly fine way to play Assassin's Creed 3, though it does feel a bit shafted in comparison to the other versions. The Wii U game got all the DLC released a few days after the 360 and PS3. Those platforms also got collector's edition variants the Wii U missed out on here in North America. It just feels a bit like this version wasn't a priority for Ubisoft, which did make it hard to warrant picking this one up compared to the other platforms. But that's getting pretty nitpicky. At the end of the day, this is Assassin's Creed 3 on Wii U, and that's all it really needs to be. Much like Just Dance 4, Ubisoft's other multi-plat release. It's Just Dance 4 on Wii U. And this is Just Dance 4 with that hat. That's pretty much what this feels like. I mean, it's for Just Dance. The Wii U version does have a few exclusive songs on the disc and the Puppet Master mode, where the gamepad user picks which poses for the players on screen to do. Not a bad use. It's a pretty cute addition alongside song lyrics appearing on here. And I consider this to be the definitive version of the game. However, at this point, the series was going hot and heavy on the Xbox 360 with Kinect, and that, in my opinion, is the controller for dancing games. You still have to use the Wii remote here. Actually, a good chunk of Ubisoft's games have Wii remote required, plastered right on the box. This was never a hard pill to swallow, but rather a weird one. Just kind of assumed you already had some Wii remotes lying around, which I find to be a bit presumptuous. And it's not like these games couldn't have possibly worked without them. Just Dance, why not use the camera on the Wii U gamepad? Prop that sucker up and dance in front of it. ESPN Sports Connection, well, it doesn't actually require a Wii remote to play, so they were ahead of me on that one. ESPN Sports Connection, because TBS said no. Seems like they added the ESPN branding fairly late into the game, as at E3 2012, they were marketing this as just Sports Connection, with original titles sometimes still appearing in game. This is just a Wii Sports wannabe with the ESPN logo slapped on it, which doesn't charm me. Nothing about this feels like ESPN. Nothing about it feels good. It's such a choppy, ass rough collection of 6 sports. It has incredibly dumb gamepad views, forcing touchscreen controls for games like tennis. I've played worse Wii Sports knockoffs, but this one's just pathetic. Well, why stop at Wii Sports? Ubisoft also released a Wii Fit lookalike in the form of Your Shape Fitness Evolved 2013. This is basically Just Dance but focused on fitness. It's well made, but the gamepad integration is stupid as hell. You require a Wii remote to do the workouts, and the gamepad to navigate the menus. So you have to keep swapping between them with the TV screen showing nothing. If you're going to require the Wii remote, why even bother with this? Just copy what's on the TV to the gamepad and advertise how you can keep working out without the TV. No, if you want to see the worst type of gamepad use, look no further than having to use my sweaty fingers on a touchscreen after a workout just because if I don't, then why the hell did I spend $300? This game's okay. But what's a Ubisoft without tumors? This is Rabbids Land, their last published launch title. The Rabbids made a name for themselves on the Wii. Whether it was a good name depends on who you're asking, obviously. The wacky motion control minigame collection was a staple of that system, and the Rabbids were kings of this domain. So after Rayman Raving Rabbids was a smash hit launch title on Wii, no matter what, we were getting Rabbids day one on Wii U. Rabbids Land! Interesting how the Wii U had 2 minigame collections based around theme parks at launch, and only 50% of them were worth a damn. You know, Rabbids Land isn't the worst. It actually has some fun ideas on how to use this thing. But pretty much every minigame is based around asymmetrical multiplayer, and they can be clever and interesting concepts that actually end up working quite well. Problem is, there's only 20 games, and the method you play them is via this game board, a la Mario Party. And this board is one of the most boring designs imaginable. Plus, it's the only one! Even some of the worst Mario parties have a couple to choose from, but Rabbids Land only has 1 and 20 minigames, while a game like Mario Party 8 has 6 boards and over 70 minigames. This is just a really light and dull package. It's not of low quality. It has some good animations, some fun ideas, and minigames, though they're just minigames. They're fun that first time, but that's not gonna last, especially if the glue holding the games together is so lame. I can't imagine anybody playing this for more than an hour anytime after the Wii U's launch. Could continue to push the bar, but I gotta hand it to Ubisoft. They supported the hell out of Wii U. Even if most of their releases were a mixed bag, you could at the very least tell they cared and wanted to take advantage of this console's unique capabilities, which basically an enhanced definitive edition of Arkham City. All of the DLC is included alongside some new Wii U features that are shoved down our throat. If you're not a fan of using the gamepad, which I know what your personal health looks like, no Wii U Pro controller support. The lack of an option to just play the game as it was on 360 and PS3 always bugs me. Like, these additions are cool, but there's no reason to act like they're necessary. The game works fine on the other platforms with normal controllers, so why force it here? Well, they had to do something to get you interested in a year-old game. This released elsewhere in October of 2011, and Arkham City was announced for Wii U at E3 that year. People cheered and then realized what that meant. Yeah, it's cool the Wii U is getting this game, but if the console is releasing in 2012, am I going to care by then? So in came Armored Edition, featuring the BA team mode. Oh my god, that sounds incredible! After the initial excitement from seeing 3 letters, I soon realized what this entailed. Nothing. Bat mode is just a mechanic where you fill up a meter in combat and then can unleash it to be stronger for a limited time. This is the easiest addition you can make to the game that makes no difference. All just to say Batman's faster and stronger in Wii U. Now the real star of the show here is the unique gamepad features, contextualized with Batman's updated suit sporting a screen in the arm. Anything to make this natural. You know, this game made me realize that most multiplats just couldn't win on this console. If they don't utilize the gamepad, what the hell? If they do, what the hell? Arkham City uses it more than most others, and it varies in usefulness. Many of these feel like nothing more than a gimmick, while some are genuinely pretty cool. I don't think it's enough to consider this the definitive version of the game. I mean, performance-wise alone, it does have a few hiccups in the frame rate department compared to the other platforms. But I think it's a cool alternative to the vanilla releases. If this was the one you played, you still played Arkham City. If you already played Arkham City, this might be a fun way to replay it, but it's definitely not necessary. Warner Brothers' second headliner was Scribblenauts Unlimited, the first home console entry in the series. The write anything and it'll appear gimmick translates beautifully over to Wii U. Something you play by yourself on the DS in the corner with a drippy ass nose into something the whole room can enjoy. This isn't a dazzling use of the system's tech, but rather an appropriate one. This just works, and I couldn't imagine Scribblenauts on a better platform. Interestingly, the Wii U version includes Nintendo characters and items you can summon, which showcase Nintendo easing up a bit on their IP usage for the Wii U generation, and throwing a bone to the company supporting them. This was cool to see, but to be fair, Nintendo's not as stingy with their franchises as we think they are. Where did he get that? Scribblenauts Unlimited is a joy. It's one of the best puzzle games out there, but definitely a lower key one. It's not the flashiest, most groundbreaking of all time, but it's so fun and lovable and relaxing. You can play through the whole game as intended, or screw around and see what you can summon and how it'll affect things. This is just a magical time, and it's best on Wii U. I'll be. Warner Brothers has been hitting it out of the park on this console. What's next? At least it's on a my park. Game Party Champions, a continuation of the Wii series, often labeled as worse than Satan. Hey, whoa! Let's give Saint some credit here. Listen, I never understood the sheer hate these games got. They're nothing special, but for budget clubhouse and sports minigame collections, it is what it is. I don't know what you were expecting, but these did their job. They functioned and were harmless. Game Party Champions? Harms. This game has a story mode where you play somebody who's clinically depressed due to the death of their father.
I know it was tough growing up without a dad. That had to have sucked. But I'm tired of the mopey attitude.
Dad will be dead for the rest of your life. Live now and play air hockey. There's a bunch of minigames where the gamepad's touchscreen is mostly used. The controls actually aren't that bad for the most part. I think the setup actually feels pretty organic with air hockey. Basketball and football have the same kind of control scheme as Takamaru's Ninja Castle from Nintendo Land, so they work well. But all I can really say about these is that the controls are fine. They aren't really fun. They go on too long and take forever to load. The other games are even more boring, but have worse or just flat out strained controls. The story mode here is unnecessary, and the game as a whole just doesn't look all too good, with the gamepad using stock images down there. The budget minigame collection just doesn't work here like it did on Wii. And now that we're in HD, the flaws are that much more apparent. Like the Dead Dad story mode. Like, what would happen if I put Game Party 2 in HD?
There was a cancer patient in here this whole time?
Of course, if Nintendo wanted to solidify the Wii U as a destination for hardcore games, you had to have Call of Duty. And we got that, alongside a few other Activision titles. Black Ops 2 alongside Mario, Zombie U, and Nintendo Land was one of the most popular games to pick up alongside your system, and for good reasons. This game takes as basic of a Call of Duty experience as they can get into having fun. Yeah, you know what's actually really cool here is how Black Ops 2 supports pretty much every controller on Wii U, including Wii Remote and Nunchuck, which was a preferred setup for some people, quote on some, quote on people. Though also, you get some extra gamepad features in addition to local multiplayer, where one person gets the whole TV, the other, the gamepad. No split screen needed. It runs and looks comparable to the other versions. All the modes are here, online multiplayer, full campaign, zombies. This might be the best version of Black Ops 2. The sentence isn't over. The DLC packs never made it to Wii U. And plus, the Nuketown 2025 map, which finally released on Wii U in August 2014, yeah, that to me says Activision always viewed the Wii U version as a novelty bonus edition of the game rather than one they truly cared about and considered to be just as important as the other versions. Which, okay, if you're not going to include something in your port, DLC, sure, you can live without that. But it just doesn't bode well for the consumer. You can see right through it. Judging by the rest of Activision's launch titles, it's obvious what they view the Wii U as. Skylanders Giants, Wipeout 3, Transformers Prime. This was just a Wii in HD one. Now Call of Duty consistently released there. So what's the difference now? I don't know. I think I'm reading too into it right now. Because Black Ops 2 works really well on Wii U. As for Activision's other launch games, let's play a little game I like to call Who Gives a Shit? Tekken Tag Tournament 2 Wii U Edition. Proudly proclaiming itself to be the one, the only, fourth version released months later. Well, you know me, I'm down for anything. Tag Tournament 2 is actually the first Tekken game on the Nintendo home console, which is really exciting and concerning at the same time. If it took this long to get Tekken, how long will it take to get my shit together? Well, it's not like this was the first time we got Tekken on Nintendo. It was the first time we got Tekken on Nintendo, and to celebrate, Tag Tournament 2 features an assortment of Nintendo goodies. Costumes for every character, special modes, one based on Mario power-ups. They took Nintendo's blessing and ran with it. There is so much here, and not just Nintendo cameo-wise. The DLC is baked onto the disc. It was free to begin with on the other platforms, but hey, included right off the bat, alongside the rest of an ever-ending package. Seriously, this is a stacked fighter. It may have been the only in the genre at launch, but did you really need anything else? The unique features of Tekken on Wii U, though, focus more on the Nintendo fan service side of things, rather than taking advantage of the console's capabilities. You can do off-TV play or have more complex moves as simple touchscreen commands, which is a nice feature for newcomers, though in a local multiplayer setting, the fact that only one player has the gamepad makes this pretty unfair, but it's completely optional, and in my opinion, only adds to the package. This is the definitive version of Tag Tournament 2. No doubt about it. But it wasn't the only title Namco released at launch. It was the only one people didn't give a fuck about. Tank, Tank, Tank. Hey, props to Namco for making an original Wii U game. And fooling me, because this isn't an original title, it's from the arcades, and this is its one and only console port. It makes a lot of sense considering each player had their own screen in the arcades. Wii U seems to be a perfect fit, and now, this is a really fun multiplayer game. Does anybody else smell burnt toast? Yeah, this is an arcade game, alright. Something that's fun for a bit, but just doesn't have any staying power. There's not enough content, and the content that's there is only entertaining for like 30 minutes. You're just a tank. You team up with your friends to destroy things, or one player on the gamepad can be the giant monkey threat everybody on the TV is up against. Good use of the controller, though it seriously just boils down to one big player against the rest. It's not deep or unique in any way. There's no twist or anything special about this. In fact, that's the best way to describe the game as a whole. Quick, dumb fun that's not special at all. It's honestly a crime this was sold for 50 bones at launch. It makes a lot more sense as a free-to-play download, which is what Namco offered it as a few months later. Tank 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 can be fun. There's just nothing to it. Well, surely Epic Mickey. Oh my god! Epic Mickey 2 The Power of Three strangely wasn't confirmed for the system's launch for a while. I mean, it was announced in spring of 2012 as a multi-platform release. Wii, Xbox 360, PS3. You'd think with Epic Mickey 1 being a Wii exclusive, and now Epic Mickey 2 coming to HD platforms with the gimmick of the game revolving around Mickey's paintbrush seemed to be a perfect fit for the gamepad's touchscreen, a Wii U version was an obvious choice. So I'd say on paper, it would be the definitive edition. In reality, it was stated that a Wii U version was not in development in April of 2012. So then what the hell happened? Oh, that the hell happened! This is a bad port of the game. Frame rate problems are everywhere, and it runs 2 was actually one of the first Wii U games ever revealed at E3 2011, but I've always kind of felt like a pretty lame game to point at and say, look, the Wii U has games you don't want me to play. But it's a solid game, one that's obviously inspired by Zelda and God of War. But that contributes to this feeling of this being nothing special. Now, Ben 10 Omniverse and Funky Barn, these are special because I can't be a Funky Barn. In fact, this game can be a miracle. Surprisingly, none of these games are all too bad. They are what they are, and that's respectable. But just because I respect you doesn't mean my brain won't forget you the first opportunity it sees. What was that? Now, this was back when every sports game came to every console. We got NBA 2K13, FIFA 13, and Madden 13. It was more than the wrong game, bro. There's some slick uses of the gamepad with all of these, like biometric scan with NBA and calling your plays with Madden. And the second screen is just too fitting for most realistic sports games. However, FIFA and Madden are both missing a lot. No Ultimate Team, extra modes, or the updated engine used on 360 and PS3 for both EA Sports titles. It really left this version feeling like a middle ground between the actual games and the Wii releases. At least EA did good with Mass Effect 3 Special Edition, a fine conversion of the game released all the way back in March. They added a decent amount in the form of an Endo-comic retelling of the first two games, and nice gamepad support that's not forced upon you, and some DLC included for free. While other DLC never came, the other platforms received a trilogy bundle containing all games including Mass Effect 3 for the same price as Mass Effect 3 alone on Wii U. Warriors of Orochi 3 Hyper, thank Christ we're done. And that was the Wii U's launch. I often hear many say how this lineup was very lackluster, how the Wikipedia article says so. Used to. But I don't really feel like that's fair to the Wii U. It did a lot of things wrong, but really with the launch lineup, it wasn't that bad, especially compared to the Nintendo 3DS's launch titles, or the GameCube's, the PlayStation 3's, hell, even the PlayStation 4's. There was a